Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about From Season 1 the Rundown Review. This is a very strange, complex type of show, and it is very freaky deaky. But it's not really freaky deaky for the reasons in which I said in episode 1, because that element of freakiness kind of disappears from the show a little bit. It reappears here and there, but then there are other freakiness stuff. There's a lot of strange supernatural stuff that goes on in this show. Basically, it's Lost 2.0. Now, if you're a huge Lost fan, then you're gonna love this show. I, on the other hand, have never really watched Lost. I didn't want to get caught up in the hype. I only saw one episode when I was out at like this pizza buffet with my friends, and it was on TV. And this one girl I used to be friends with in college, she kept talking about how great and amazing this show is. And I watched that one episode, and that one episode just happened to be a boring episode. So I'm like, oh, whatever. But I do know the premise of that, of Lost and everything. It's a bunch of twists and turns and this and that and craziness, and people loved it for what it was because it was different at that time. And basically, this show is exactly like that. It even has the same type of like characters. Like the main dude who plays the sheriff, he was actually from Lost. You have an Asian couple who only speaks Mandarin. You have the Indian person. You have the LGBT person, you have like the sporadic type person, you have kind of like this racist type person who's angry, you have this more like fluid type person, you have the young people, you have like, you know, kind of like this leader of the group, you have kind of like the inventor of the group, you have like, you know, you see the different types of like stuff that like what made Lost into this show. Now, I could have sworn, now, okay, there was two shows I was watching at the same time. It was this and Chapel Wait. One of these shows is actually from the creator of Lost, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's probably this one, since this one seems more like Lost. But every time I see like the intro, which is freaky by the way, I don't see nothing saying from the creators of Lost. Now, this is created by George Griffin, I believe his name is. Yeah, John. No, not George. My bad. John Griffin. It's created, written, executive produced by John Griffin and the Russo brothers. I don't think the Russo brothers was on Lost. I don't think. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't. I'm not really sure. But so yeah, it's either this show or Chapel Wait that's like from the creators of Lost. I can't really remember. Chapel Wait, well, I waited on that. I only watched the first episode only because the first episode is very dry, a little boring, a little stiff. Except for that the first couple of minutes, that was spine chilling. But yeah, but the trailer of Chapel Wait looks good, so I'm gonna continue watching it next. 'Cause I still got 2 months of 99 cents on that Epic Roku thing, which you really should do. Like, yeah, you can get like a free trial on Epic for like a week, but 2 months of 99 cents? Come on, you can't beat that. Now, sadly, they don't have that many shows. They do have some, they have a bunch of movies and stuff. So you're bound to find something you like. But when it comes to this show again, it's this show like that's the one main problem I have with this show is that there are way too many twists and turns, and I wish it would only focus on one per season, or maybe add in two per season. But having like 50 million twists and turns is a little bit too much, because once your mind focuses and settles on one thing, then it goes to something different, and then you kind of like, oh man, then you kind of miss out on the other thing that like drawing you in. Like what drawing me in is that there are these people trapped in the town, and there are monsters that come from the woods. These monsters look like regular people, until their face turn monstrous, and then their hands turn to claws. But the problem with that is these monster people rarely show up in this show. They only show up in the first two episodes, then they show up majorly in the seventh, and then that's really about it. And it sucks because that's the thing that like grabbed me in, And not only that, but when you do see these monster people, their monster form is only for like a split second. The rest of the time, you only see them in their human form, which they rarely show them in their human form. In the seventh episode, you get to see more of them in their human form, but there's something you notice about them. It's the way they dress. They dress like they're from the 1950s. And the problem is, it's never explained why they're dressed like the 1950s. And so once you go through that, like, layer, you peel back another layer, and then there's like another obstacle and everything, and another twist, and then you peel back that layer, and then there's another twist, and then they start killing off characters that you like that could be really interesting and stuff, and keep other people that's kind of like blah or whatever. But then they hit you with the season finale, which is just one huge twist after another, after another, after another, and then it worked because they got a second season that's coming out. Also, Chapel Wait has a second season too. And so it's kind of just like, this is a fascinating show. It's an interesting show. It's a freaky deaky show. And it's a character driven show. Like the thing that, other than the monsters, it's the characters that keep you intrigued and everything. Every character has their own type of personality and stuff. Some characters they focus on more than others. Others I wish they would focus on more, especially before they killed them off because they was very interesting. So, and then there's some things that they tell us about some of these characters, but because it's only 10 episodes, you don't get much of it, and they kind of like you have to wait to the second season, hopefully, to find out more about that character. So I hate when they do that. Because this show cast is huge, but it only focuses on like a dozen people or so, and not everybody gets enough screen time. But some people who do get enough screen time, you do get a good enough a sense of like who they are and stuff. Now this show is and this is what's so interesting about this show, that it pulls from different genres of different TV shows. You have Lost, you have Goosebumps, not just the entire Goosebumps series, but Welcome to the Dead House episode book. A little bit of The Walking Dead in there, and just some good old sci-fi stuff just thrown in there. So it's interesting how it pulls from like all these different shows. And what's so funny about the Goosebumps thing is that Welcome to the Dead House, one of the main characters that we really don't get to know that much, but she's there. Because of her personality, she played the mom in Welcome to the Dead House, and now she's in a show that's similar to it. And stuff. That's just crazy and everything. And like when it comes to The Walking Dead, you can tell who's the Rick character. You can tell who's the Glenn character. And then there's a scene ripped straight from the first season of The Walking Dead. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man. As soon as I saw that happen, I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen. And it exactly happened and everything. But, what is this show about? Well, I already explained it in the first episode, so go watch that. But here's more of what happened since that episode. So basically the gist of this show is you have like these group of people living in town. For some strange unknown reason, they cannot leave that town. Everybody has to go inside the house before nighttime comes because the monster people come in from the woods and everything. And so they can't enter a person's house unless you give them entry. So it's kind of like that Buffy vampire thing where they can't come in unless you invite them in. That's another thing they draw from Buffy. And so in order to keep them out, like they can literally come in a house if they want to, or any kind of structure. But if they have a talisman outside their window or in the house, then they have to ask for permission. Somehow, for some reason, talismans keeps them out. Those little rock things. And so if they get in, they will literally kill everybody in there. And they kill them in a very interesting way. They rip limbs off. They eat you from like the torso down, and you just see like rib cages sticking out and blood, and it's disgusting, and it's a bloodbath. But for some reason, these people dress like they're in the 1950s, which is never explained. So then, there's always a new somebody coming into town. And every time they come into town, it's the same thing. They see the giant tree that's in the middle of the road. They see the crows. They keep driving around and it keeps bringing them to that town. And then they're stuck there. And then you have two areas of town. You have the colony house and then you have the township people. For some reason, they're split, but we don't know why they're split. And so that is just the gist of what this show is about. At least that's what I thought it was originally about. But then they started throwing in all this weird freakiness stuff. And it's just like, okay, I'm kind of, not only that I'm losing interest, but I'm getting confused. Now, there's one really interesting theory I have when it comes to this show. And that's the road not taken. Or better yet, the road with the tree in the middle of it. I'm curious. See, every person that comes from a different direction always ends up on this road. The tree is in the middle of the road. Instead of moving it or trying to go around it, they just back up and then they head back down the other side of the road. Then they head into town. And then it's just like one continuous loop after that. I am curious, like, well, everybody who's been stuck there, nobody's never mentioned about trying to go down that road. Never on foot. And none of them have ever tried to like gather a bunch of people in cars and just move the tree out the way. So I'm curious, is it the road not taken? Could that lead them out of this like mystery town type thing? Like, has anybody else ever thought about that? I wonder. Because it's just like, what is down that road and stuff? You have Sheriff Boyd Stevens. He is the sheriff and the mayor of the town. He and his family, his wife Abby, and his son Ellis, they arrived in town. Now, him and his wife are both military, but his wife was in the Marines. So when they drove into town, they almost ran into Father Karate. No, I keep saying his name. Um, Kotri? Yeah, that's it. Kotri. Father Kotri. And so they almost ran into him. And this pisses off Boyd and everything. And so Father Kotri's all like, look, this is going to be hard for me to explain, but you got to believe me. I know I'm going to sound crazy, but y'all need to come with me and hide because they're going to be these monster people that are going to try to kill you. So the wife pulls out a gun. She ain't having none of that. But then the son, for some reason, convinces them that, maybe we should listen to him because we keep driving around in a circle, we keep taking different roads and something obviously is freaky going on. Now, this is before the community had established itself and had split itself up. Before the Stevens family showed up, everybody was just living in one part of the town and they all hid underground in like basements and stuff like that. See, the reason for that is because the monster's a bit different at that time. See, remember when I said the monster people, they come up to your house and knock on the windows and they ask to come in? They talk in a normal voice. Before the Stevens family showed up, they screamed, hollered, and screeched. So it was like this wailing noise. It was terrifying. And of course, they can come in and out of people's houses because at that time, there was no talismans. So after night passed and it's daytime, they come out from like the cellar and everything, and they see tons of dead bodies littered the streets. And so, of course, at that point in time, Boyd, he decided he's going to take leadership and everything. And he told the people what they need to do to try to, better survive. So he told them, take all your belongings and let's put that into like one room and everything. Let's ration some stuff. Let's divide into certain houses. This is still before the whole colony and township stuff, but let's live in separate houses. And, At certain time, gather everybody up, like put them down in like the basements and this and that. Then of course, um, there's no electricity really in the town. See, all their belongings. Say you bring in like I don't know, like say a blow dryer, right? You bring that in from your house into town. That will not work. The only electricity that will work are the lamps and stuff. And nobody knows why that is. Sometimes the jukebox will play by itself and this and that. It's very odd, it's very strange. And so he told them, what's beyond these woods and everything. Do the monster people live in the woods during the day? Nobody knows because they didn't venture out there because they're too scared. He, on the other hand, decided he's going to take the initiative and go out himself. And so every day for weeks he would just go out into like the woods and like just like search for stuff. He comes back with a goat and tells them that he found goats, chickens, and cows, and people are very shocked because they've never seen any live animals and stuff, other than in the crows that flew around in that one area. And so makes me wonder, what were they doing for food before then, other than snacks that they had. Now the thing is, they have no idea where these livestock animals came from and everything. They just, for some reason, just live out in the woods. And so they make like a little farmhouse type thing to corral them in there. But then he keeps going out every week. His son tells him, look, Dad, you need to stop going out there every week because Mom is starting to kind of like lose it. She's acting weird. She constantly just stands in the middle of the road looking for you to come back and everything. But he's all like, your mom's tough. She was in the Marines. She'll be fine. One day he goes out into like the woods and he gets lost because he sees a dog and everything. And so he knows the dog has to have an owner, but who? Because there's no animals around here. He gets lost and nighttime comes. Out comes the monsters. He hides in kind of like this little cave looking thing. The monsters are coming for him, but then all of a sudden they stop and they turn around and they leave. He doesn't understand why. So he starts looking around like the little cave thing he's in, and he starts seeing these rocks that are loose, and these rocks that are loose, they have little drawings on them, a little people and some weird stuff. These are the talismans. So he goes back into town. He tells these people, look, put this near your window. It will keep the boogeyman out and everything. Well, we find out now why the town that they're in is split into two different colonies and stuff. When he comes back, he hears gunfire. Why? It's his wife. For some reason, she's plugging people on the streets left and right. And she's all like, this is just a bad dream. You can't die in a dream. So once you get shot and you're like shocked and everything, you will wake up from your dream because we're all living in a nightmare. So he's telling her to stop, but she's like, no, we just gotta wake everybody up. And she's like, and so, but waking them up by shooting them. So anyway, Donna is one of the women that's in town who's part of the colony house. She controls that, and she doesn't like Boyd. But at that time, they was getting along, and she was telling like Abby like to stop shooting the people, this and that. Well, in comes Ellis, their son, and so like, he telling his mom to stop, but she's getting ready to shoot him. And so the dad, like instinct wise, he pulls out his gun and he shoots his wife point blank in the head. This causes his son to hate him, and this causes the people to split up into the colony house. And the people in the colony house, they literally the colony house or colonial house, I can't remember. I think it's colony house. And so they stay separate from that of the town. They will not enter town unless somebody dies and they all have a funeral and stuff for that person. But they stay in this giant beautiful house. And in this giant beautiful house, there's tons of people that live there, and like I said before, they will not go into town. They won't go to the diner to eat. They won't go, they got their own farm animals and stuff. They're basically like hippie people living in the summer of love and everything. Some people actually dress kind of hippie and everything, but they're very free spirited. They're very loose, if you know what I mean. They just keep to themselves and they have a good time and they drink. Like one time, As somebody was walking through the house, there's somebody like in the dining room area or the living room, completely butt naked, sitting in a chair, riding each other. And I'm just like, dude, they're doing this in the middle of like where everybody can see them, but they don't care because they're free spirited and stuff. Whereas people in the colony more of a structure, not the people in the colony, the people in township are more of a structure and everything. Um, and so Donna, she rules that of Colony House. She's a very strict, very stern woman. We really don't get to see much of her, but when we do, we know she has a problem with Boyd and everything. But she lets his son live there, and she has no problem with him. Other than that, she kind of just disappears from the series until like the fourth episode or so. Now there's also she is the mom from the Goosebumps episode I was telling you. Welcome to that of the Dead House. I'll get more into Donna a little bit later because something happens in episode 7. So I might as well get into the deputy sheriff dude. What is his name? Trying to remember. Is Kenny Lou. And so Kenny, he reminds me a little bit of Glenn from The Walking Dead. Not just because he's Asian and everything, but they have a very similar personality. They're young, they don't have no leadership roles, but at some point they have to take it. So anyway, Kenny is just a nice sheriff's deputy dude. He takes care of his mom who runs the diner and his dad who has some type of like dementia type stuff. And so like he has this crush on, let's see, who is the doctor in this? Krista and everything, Christy. And so he has a crush on her. And basically he's just like a nice deputy dude. He does as he's told. When when the sheriff do tell him put the spike strips out, he forgets to pull them back. And so the car gets hit, the tires get taken out. Now, remember after the last episode I said they were trying to get the Matthews family to the colony house and everything before it gets nighttime? Well, it gets nighttime. So now this picks up exactly where it left off. So they had to try and make it on foot, along with Jade, who was the dude in the back seat who was high. So they're trying to get, so it's Ellis and it's Kenny, they're trying their best to get Jade to the colony house, dragging him and everything as they run. Also, it's raining. Now you have Tabitha, who is the mother of the Matthews family, and you have Julie, who is their daughter, and they're running as fast as they can because Kenny tells them, look, no matter who you see, no matter what they tell you, you just keep running to that house. And that's what you do. You don't look back and you don't talk to nobody and you don't look at nobody. You just run to that house and everything. So they're running. But Julie makes the mistake because around the corner of the house, some group of dead people, or monster people you should call them really, because we don't know if they're dead or not, but monster people. They come to the house and he calls Julie by name. She's like, do I know you? See, these monster people have the ability to get inside your head and figure out who you are and certain things about you. So she's kind of like in this trance. Well, Kenny shoots the dude point blank in the head, but it doesn't really put him down. So they're banging on the door to call him house to let him in. And Donna lets them in. And because one of the residents at first didn't want nobody to come in the house, and he had a giant rifle, but she makes him put it down and make them people come in. So of course with the talismans, they can't get in and everything. It's very freaky. So by the next day, and everything, he's back to doing what he's doing. But then the sheriff, Bory dude, he's all like, look, man, we gotta find a way out of here and everything. And I'm just gonna take the initiative and start going back in those woods. And he's all like, look, man, because by this time, Kenny's dad had died. I'll get into how he died later. So anyway, he's distraught. He's upset. He's chopping wood. He's whittling, making figures and stuff, but he doesn't want the sheriff, Stevens, to leave because he needs him. He's like, we need you more than ever now. But he's like, look, that's exactly why I'm doing this, man, because we have to get out of here. And he thinks he has a way out. See, he always assumed that you put the talisman near a window, those things can't get in. But when they was in the RV, he put the talisman up and they still didn't get in. So he figures, look, if I go out there, I camp out, have like a tent and everything, I put the talisman up, I should be fine. And I gotta find out what's past like that area and stuff. So he's upset and he's getting really grumpy at this time because he doesn't want that dude to leave and stuff like that. But then the sheriff go talks to Christy and she tells him, she convinces him to stay. And so then he goes back to Kenny. He's all like, let's like throw the baseball, man, with like the glove and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But Kenny don't want to do it. But then Kenny finally realizes that, you know what, man, you're right. You do need to go out there. You do need to find us a way out of there. But then he tells Kenny a secret. His hand's been shaking. It's been shaking for a while. It's something his dad has. It's either Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or something. Whatever makes your hand shake and makes you not so clear in the head. And he tells him he don't know how much time he has, but Christy can't save him. So he's all like, look, man, I gotta find a way out before like something bad happens to me. So then Kenny realizes, he does need to leave and stuff. And so Kenny steps up. Kenny steps up a big time. He's young, but he becomes a man, you know what I'm saying? And he helps out a lot. He has to keep he's stern to the people when he has to, but he does it in a more gentle kind of way. Like when it comes to Jay, I'll get to Jay later, but he is the only one who can really calm Jay down, him and his mom and stuff. Now, when it comes to him and Krista, when they assume they're gonna find a way out, he tells them that, like, when you can be together. And she tells them the secret of, I'm engaged. And she's engaged to a woman, but she does like him. And so he's hurt by this, but this is something for season 2 because they don't really go too much into that. Jim Matthews is the father and husband of that Tabitha, and he's a pretty easygoing man until he feels his kids are threatened. The moment he feels his kids are threatened, the Papa Bear comes out in him, and he will do everything from grab you, throw you outside, punch you, whatever. He will protect his kids, especially in a freaky deaky town. And so, like, it is, he ends up like interacting a lot more with that of Jade, the dude who was high and everything. Now Jay's software designer and everything. Jade needs help trying to figure a way to get out of town. Anyway, but then also he's trying his own method of trying to get out of town. He feels like the best way to solve a puzzle is to ask a bunch of questions. So he starts writing on the wall tons and tons of questions. Like why certain things don't work. Like the trees, the birds, stuff like that. And his wife asked a very interesting question. She asked, did we survive the crash? So then I'm thinking to myself, oh no, don't do that lost thing where they're in purgatory. Like, don't do that. So then they do wonder if they are in that. And after he talks to the sheriffs are like, no, you are very much alive. Before the crash, remember you got out your car and you could talk to me and everything. That still don't mean that they're alive. Because the people in town could very well just be purgatory ghost people, for all they know, who could just talk to people, So that debate is still up in the air. But then he is starting to look at the electricity and everything in the house, and he doesn't understand why certain things blink, why like the lights, why the jukebox comes on by itself. He doesn't understand any of that, you know what I'm saying? So then he starts examining the wires and stuff. He cuts open the wire and there's no wire. There's no cord wire inside. You have the casing on the outside, so he cuts that open and there's no actual wire, copper wire stuff inside. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, if there's no wire inside these wires, inside these plugs and everything, then how does the lights turn on? And so then he looks at the plug, and the plugs are shaped a different way from the outlet. So him and his wife starts to think. So then that's when Jade comes in to my look, man, we're both engineers and everything. I need your help. So let's get into the character of Jade. Why not? So Jade, he was in the car with his friend that almost crashed into that of the Matthews family RV. He was high off his butt. Once he sobers up and cleans up, he assumes he's on some type of reality show. He refuses to believe this is some type of weird paranormal town and stuff. And so he's very erratic, very abrasive, very sporadic. He has a very rude attitude. Jade is not making friends. He even steals a woman's bike and stuff. And it's just, he literally doesn't want to believe that, this is like no strange, freaky deaky town. So he starts traveling around like the town and he goes into a cellar where he sees a dead body. He has a hallucination that the dead body comes to life and starts screaming at him. Now, the thing about this town, it does affect some people's minds where it causes them to hallucinate and it affects them the most. So, the only people who's really able to talk any sense into him is that of like Kenny and Kenny's mom. He respects Kenny's mom, even though he's rude and stuff, but he does respect her for some strange reason. The only reason why he starts to believe that things in this town are real is when the sheriff shows him his dead friend. And so he's heartbroken over this because he's been friends with him ever since the fourth grade. And they used to like build stuff together. So he's still not willing to accept the fact that, they're trapped and there could be a way out. Well, he sees like, I think like a light turns on by itself or something like that. And so then he's kind of like, how does that work like that? He's like, and Kenny's like, look, man, we don't know. We don't try to figure things out. So of course he's going to figure out, he's all like, look, man, you want to get out so bad, figure out like how that light comes on, figure out how the radio, this and that does this. So he takes the communication radio system thing, and then he takes it and then he starts brainstorming. So then he goes and he gets Jim and they go out into the woods and they're gonna try to make like they're gonna try to like connect the what is it, radio to like a car battery and stuff, and they're gonna put it like on the highest tree they can find and just like make it try to work. But he makes Jim climb the tree. Then all of a sudden he has a hallucination. It's a Civil War soldier. Not sure which one it is because it's a black dude. So he can go either way, Union or Confederacy. But I think it was a Union uniform he had on. And then he starts chasing Jade. He shoots at him a couple of times, shoots him point blank in the chest. Then he starts stabbing him with his little musket thing. Jim finds him and he is freaked out, like, because the dude just had a hallucination. He doesn't understand why. So then he goes back into town all freaked out. But then all of a sudden static comes on the radio and Jim hears it. So then when it comes to that electricity and stuff, so in a way he's acting like a fool again to that of Kenny's mom, and she smacks some sense into him and stuff. And so they're brainstorming and then they figure out, they find a picture, and that picture is of Victor, this dude who's like the oldest living person like in town, right? And so like, but they saw a picture of him when he was a kid. I'll get into Victor a little bit later. And so then they're like this strange symbol thing that the mom had, and from something. So he's trying to figure that out, and he's able to deduce that it could be like a light bulb and wires and stuff. So he goes to Jim, but he goes to Jim at a bad time. This is after episode 7 when something really bad happens. And so when he goes to Jim, he's being his rude self, never knocking on the door, just comes on in, being rude to everybody, and Jim just like throws him out. And then they decide to like, listen. He decides to listen to him. He's all like, look, there's no wires in these plugs when it comes to like these lamps, right? But where does electricity come from? It comes somewhere from the ground. So then he's all like, you take an electronic item from like the outside world, it does not work. But you take the lamp fixture, you take the light bulb out, you slice the wire, you put both though I guess like the wire from like a car battery or something like that, and then the electronic item from outside world into the thing. You place the light bulb back, you turn it on. Now all of a sudden the light the blow dryer works. I don't understand none of that. This is when this show kind of goes off the walls and the weird freakiness and stuff. So he's all like, the all we have to do is make like a radio tower, and then we hook all the electronic items from the outside world, get them car batteries and stuff, get the lamp fixtures from in town, and that's the power that we need. But we need a high building. So they go to the colony house because, but something happened there. I'll get into that a little bit later and stuff. So they start building with the townspeople a giant tower. Now I might as well get into Victor, because when it comes to Christy, the doctor lady, there's nothing really about her other than, like, you know, she's like a medic. She likes Kenny, but she's also engaged to a woman on the outside world. And that's basically all her character is. And she barely shows up in the show. There's too many people, there's too few episodes, and it needs to be 20. Anyway, Victor, he is the oldest living person there. His entire family is dead. He's been there, he's about 50 something years old probably. So he's been there for a long, he's been there since he was a kid. So he's been there for about 40 years and stuff. And so when you watch the intro, you see all these drawings and stuff. Those are his drawings. He draws everything he sees in town. And then also in the intro is also Ellis drawings as well, but it's mostly his. So in a way, he saw like some dolls years ago and some dead people. He saw like the cellar. He saw, like, you know, he sees everything, but he sees somebody else. He sees a little boy dressed all in white. And he's the only person at that time who could ever see the boy. Now, he has been driven mad. He's awkward. He's weird. People think he's nuts. He lives up in the attic in the colony house, and he just comes down to get peaches and that and this and that. He doesn't really talk to nobody, and nobody really talks to him. They just keep this up away from him because he's a little weird and stuff. So then, as he's like, you know, he keeps all his drawings in a certain place, and then he goes out into the woods and he starts counting from the house to like the trees, and he's doing something with the trees. Now, this is when Ethan comes in. Ethan is the younger brother to that of Julie, and, you know, the kid to that of like the Matthews. He's being his kid self, getting on like Victor's nerves. I'm like, I can help you do whatever it is you're doing, blah blah, stuff like that. So in a way, for whatever reason, something intrigues Victor. I forget what. I think because he sees that Ethan can see the boy in white, so he knows he's special. So he takes him off to the woods without his family permission. They don't even know. Now at this time, Ethan has a crutch, like Jiminy Cricket, not Jiminy Cricket, Little Timmy from the Christmas Carol thing, like a crutch. And so he's all like, oh, you don't need that, I'll give you a better stick and everything. Remember, his leg had like a table leg inside his leg and stuff when he got into that crash. Somehow his leg is healing up faster when he has like this stick that what's his name gave him. So he asked him, what is he constantly doing? He's all like, he's waiting for the trees to move. For some reason, the trees won't move. Weird. I never noticed that. So then he takes him out to this giant tree that has a hole in it. He's all like, this tree is special. You throw something in, something goes in, it comes completely out in a different location. So he puts like a rock, he draws like a smiley face on it, he throws it in that tree hole, it comes out the sky. He's all like, that's the weird thing. If you put something in there, then it comes out like right next to the tree out the sky. But if a person goes in, they come out in different locations of the town and everything. In a way, his parents find out he's missing. They see he's with Victor. They freak out, and so they don't want him hanging out with him no more and stuff. Now, Victor had a hallucination. This is one that's ripped straight from The Walking Dead. About episode 3 or 4, probably 4. He has a vision and he starts digging holes in the ground. Why? He's digging graves, tons of them. He's freaking the people out at Colony House. And Donna's like, what are you doing? He's all like, getting ready and everything. It's the same thing. I think it was Jim from The Walking Dead. Because actually, before I get into episode 7, let me get into some more characters. Tabitha, she is the mother. Her and Jim were actually going through a divorce before they ended up stranded in that place. Julie found that out because of like some papers and this and that. And so this caused a strained relationship between her and Julie because Julie is upset about that. Anyway, also there's something else. They had what caused a rift in their relationship is because Ethan actually isn't the youngest son. They had a baby, but he died. This caused them to have both so much grief and sadness that their relationship just fell apart. So they wanted one last family outing before they had to break the news to the kids. So anyways, she's highly protective of her kids. See, when you get to Colony, well, not Colony, but when you get to that town, because it's divided, you have to pick where you want to live. Colony House or that of the township and stuff. And so everybody in the family has to decide. And so the Matthew family, they all choose township except for Julie. I'll get into Julie later. And so this pisses off Tabitha. Now, when they were trying to discover the wires and like the plugs and stuff, she's all like, okay, look, these wires go down. So she's gonna figure out where. She busts a hole through like the wall. Her and her son, they start digging the hole. She basically spends the entire series digging a giant hole in the basement. And she is determined to dig that hole. And she's going down deep until she can find out where exactly the power source is coming from. She goes so far down that she hits this metal thing. While down there, the town is starting to have a toll on her mind. She has a bad dream. And so, like, but it's not a hallucination yet until she does have a hallucination. She's not sure, but she keeps finding herself outside. And so something happens to her in the last episode. Now let's get to Julie. Julie is the daughter of like the Matthews family, and she has a very rebellious type attitude. At first, I couldn't figure out why she hates her parents so much and why she wanted to live in a colony house away from them. Nothing made no sense because they never explained what happened until a couple of episodes later. Until, like I told you, she found out her parents are getting divorced. They wanted one last outing. Now, she's a little bit annoying at times because she's a little selfish. See, she tells her mom that you have 2 other kids. Speaking of the baby that died, and since you have 2 other kids, that should have kept you and dad together. Now, I get what she's saying, but you know, she needs to understand the grief that they have. Like their child has died. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a little something hard to get like over with and stuff. So she decides she's gonna live in Colony House, and she's befriended that by Ellis, who is Boyd's son, and also Fatma, his girlfriend, or I should say person. I'll get into that later. And so she's like, you know, really like, you know, having a great time over there, being free and all this and that. But of course, when her brother comes running and screaming, then, you know, she steps up as a big sister and everything. But she still doesn't want to live with them until what happens in episode 7. Sarah. Sarah is that freaky girl who killed that man with that little pencil thing. So anyway, Sarah. She's just a normal, nice little girl until she's not. See, she has these bizarre hallucinations and these seizures. Then the monster freaky people are able to talk to her during the day in her mind, and they carve stuff in her arm, and they want her to do stuff. They keep wanting her to kill, and so like the first person they wanted her to kill was the dude who's Jade's friend. And then the second person they wanted her to kill was Kenny's dad. So she took the talisman out, she left the door open, and then boom, they came in and they slaughtered everybody in that little nursing home type thing, or wherever his dad was staying at. Then all of a sudden, they want her to kill Ethan and everything. And they tell her, if you do this, because something like there's something about this boy that's like wrong, they tell her. And if you do this, then you all can go home. You're free from this town. But if you don't do this, then your brother Nathan is gonna die, and everybody else is gonna die. So she has a heart to heart with that Christy. Doesn't tell her what's going on, but she's all like, if there was a way to get out of this place by doing some bad things, would you do it? And Christy's kind of like, well, yeah, and everything. So that gives her, in her mind, the okay to do it. So she sets up a play date with that of Ethan. She takes him to like this little farm place where all the animals are at. Well, his mom wants to go too. She stuffs Tabitha in like this little like shed, like crawl space type thing, and locks her in. And then she's going to, you know, harm that of Ethan. Well, here's the thing. See, the only person who knows she's been doing this is her brother Nathaniel and stuff. So he's worried. He don't know what to do. He goes to the pastor dude, Father Kotri, and he tells him what's been going on. So they go looking for her and they find her. They try to make her stop. Ethan's screaming and hollering. The mom is screaming and hollering because she's still trapped. But see, Father Kotri and Nathan, they went to the sheriff and stuff, and to Jim. And so they all go looking for Sarah. They find her. She's moments from doing it. But then Ethan kicks her and runs away. So as she's fighting with Nathaniel, her brother, Nathan, her brother, they're struggling, and she turns around, but by mistake, she slices his throat with the scalpel, and he dies. Then all of a sudden, she takes off, and Father goes after her. I just say Pastor Kotri goes after her, and so he comes back, and he's all like, she got away. And then so like Nathan dies and stuff. But then it turns out that she didn't get away. Father Kotri kidnapped her and put him down in his basement to that of his church house. Yeah, he did that. And so now let's get to him, Father Kotri and everything. He's an interesting, complex character. See, he believes in capital punishment. Remember in the first episode, that man let his family die and everything, and so first he was in jail, but then he tells the sheriff put him in the box. See, the box is this metal wood thing that came from cars that the sheriff built in case people did something really bad and they'll have to be punished. What is the ultimate punishment? Well, you have to spend the night in the box, and there's no talisman, which means the monster's gonna come through and kill you. But they've never really had to use it before. It was just something to scare the people away. He assumed that would do it until that one dude messed up. So the sheriff doesn't want to put him in the box because he knows what's gonna happen. But the pastor dude's all like, you need to make an example for the rest of the townspeople and stuff. And he literally persuades him to put him in the box, and that's what happens. But then the sheriff dude, he decided, you know what? I'm going to take a talisman, I'm going to give it to that guy, and I'm going to tell you, look, man, you go off into the woods and you leave and you never come back. Well, the husband dad dude decided, you know what? He needs to pay for his penance and he needs to die. And so we see that happen. He's in the box. The people start like coming towards him, but then in a split second, they bust through. And that's all it is, a split second. We don't get to see them after that, but we see them in their monstrous form. It's pretty freaky for that split second. Anyway, so the pastor dude, he starts talking to Sarah in a very creepy, scary kind of way. He's like, dude, what is he going to do to her? He starts telling her about the Bible. He's all like, when I came to this town, I realized something. There are no Bibles at all in this town. So he had to write everything from what he remembers from memory for his congregation and everything. Then he tells her, you know, the Bible consists of 46 books, but he believes that this town is the 47th and everything. So he starts to go a little cuckoo crazy in the head, and he starts asking her why did you do what you did? Why did you kill those people? And she's all like, because the voices told me to. The voices said if I do it, we all get to go home and everything. So he doesn't believe her. But then she starts to freak out again. And then she's like, I need paper and pencil. So he gives it to her and she starts drawing. And she's all like, the voices said you will know exactly what this means. He looks at it. It's a boy in a rocket ship. And she's all about, they saw you, they watch you every day. They know about the bag. So then we get like a flashback scene when he goes back out into the field. He's digging up a hole. It's a bag. Inside the bag is alcohol. Something else. Oh, a bloody shirt and a candy bar. It's an old-fashioned candy bar with that of a little boy on a rocket ship. So he knows that Sarah's telling the truth because he's never told nobody about his bag. And so only the whatever's controlling that town would know. So he goes to Boyd and everything. He shows him the bag. And he's all like, this better be your blood on this shirt. And he tells him of his dark secret of how that blood got on the shirt. It freaks the sheriff out so bad he pulls his gun on him and stuff. He tells him that a long time ago, before he came to town, he was at his church and the boy came to him about something. I guess the boy didn't want to go home or something like that. But he gave the boy a candy bar, that same candy bar, and told him just to go home and everything. He goes home, but he goes to check on the boy. The boy is dead on like the couch. I think his neck is snapped, something like that. The parents did, the father, whatever. So he beats the crap out of the father and kills him. And that's where the blood on the shirt comes. Then he tells him about the candy bar, about how like he never told nobody that. And these voices, he's all like, he thinks that Sarah can find a way out of this place because those voices talk to her, and it's up to us to figure out how. So all three of them are gonna go on a nice little mission I told you about to try to find a way out of town. And so, whatchamacallit, who else am I getting into? Oh, the other two. Okay, so I'm getting into these two other characters now, and I'll tell you exactly what happened in episode 7. Fatma, she's been there for a year. Everybody loves her. She's so sweet. She's a hippie. She's free-spirited. Everybody loves her there because she makes a point to like get to know people and make them feel comfortable. She makes Julie feel comfortable, a little too comfortable. See, when they celebrated Fatma's year, they had an anniversary party for her because everybody just loves her so much. And so, Julie sees her kiss another woman, and she's all like, I thought you and then Julie got like upset and everything. She's all like, I thought you was with Ellis, so why are you kissing that woman? And then so Ellis is all like, oh, Ellis is my person, which I'm guessing maybe he's non-binary or something. I don't know because they never explain it. But why would she call him her person and not her boyfriend or whatever? I don't get it. But anyway, but she's all like, but the other girl you saw me kiss is just like, just for fun and everything. And so Julie's all like, well, can I kiss you? And Fatma's kind of like taken away from this. She's just kind of like, she feels awkward and stuff. Because Julie is a teenager and Fatma is not. And so Julie freaks out and she's all like, forget I ever said it. And she just runs off. And then that's never explored no more. And in fact, after that happens in the 7th episode, they never talk no more after that. So where was this storyline going? Anyway, Ellis is like Fatma's person. I still don't know what that means. I really don't. I've never heard of that before. But in my mind, that's like that they literally are dating and stuff. And he's a really nice guy. He's a bit of a hipster, free-spirited. He's an artist. He paints a lot of stuff. He gets along with everybody that in like the Colony house until it's Fatma's 1-year anniversary and he gets drunk and he starts becoming a butthole to everybody. And so like to where he almost get into like a fight with people, right? So whatchamacallit, so he is of course the son of the sheriff and he hates him because the sheriff shot his mom and everything. Well, Fatma tells him that, look, man, she talks to him, she persuades him to like forgive her father because it's not Ella's fault or Boyd's fault, it's the mom's fault for doing what she did and everything. So he finally forgives his dad. Now the freaky stuff that happens in the 7th episode. Man, I swear, Ellis, he looks like a black James Franco. Like, he so does. There's a guy in the colony house. I don't know his name, but he looks like a 70s porn star. And he leaves flowers outside on like the bench and stuff. And so Julie at one point took these flowers thinking somebody gave them to her. Well, he put some more out there. Then at night, we see him pull back the curtain and talk to one of the monster people. It's a woman. She has the flowers in hand. It's like, oh no, dude. Like, I see this coming already. And so the next night in the seventh episode, she comes to him. She's all like, I can never see you again. He's like, why? She's all like, because you won't let me into the house. You think I'm gonna hurt you and everything. He's all like, well, you know what your people are like and stuff. But he's madly in love with her. And she convinces him to open the window and says that, you open it, close it right afterwards. Like, only I can come and nobody else can. So he does that. So then I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe she's special like the boy in white and everything. And so then they start kissing and making out. Then all of a sudden her fingers turn to claws and she starts ripping his back. Then as she's kissing him, she pulls back and there's blood coming out of his mouth. She spits his tongue out. Then she goes for the kill. We don't get to actually see her kill him. Nobody can hear his screams because everybody's partying down below and getting drunk and stuff. And Ellis wants to fight the racist dude and stuff. And so afterwards, this is what's weird. She's cleaning herself. She's cleaning all the blood off her in a very trance kind of way. Then she opens up the window, and then we see all the monster people come from the woods and towards the house. And like I said before, they're dressed like 1950 people. There's an old-fashioned milkman and everything. So then there's this girl named Trudy. Now, Trudy, there's not much to her because they didn't really want to explore her character, which is sad because I liked her personality. The only thing about her I know that's weird is that, okay, when she meets Jade, she's all like, too bad you didn't pick Colony House. I will let you ride me, I would have rode you like a horse or something like that. And he has no reaction to that whatsoever. Like, she literally told that dude she would ride him like a horse and everything. So then the only other interaction we see her with is that of Fatma. After the 1 year anniversary thing, she goes to Fatma. She's all like, I know you don't like me very much. And Fatma's all like, no, that's not true, man. Yeah, there's times where you get on my nerves, but I don't hate you. And then she gives Trudy that of her sweater. Now, we don't know what the relationship is between those two because the show never explored, and we never will find out because when all the monster people came in the house, Trudy was their second victim and they tore her apart. Then we start to hear the screams and the monsters all through the house and they're scaring everybody. So everybody's racing out to the van because there aren't that many cars that can still drive and stuff, but the colony house van still works. And so Donna gets everybody in. Fatma's kind of like, where's Ellis? So she doesn't want to leave. So then she looks for him. He thinks that Trudy is Fatma because of the sweater, but finds out it's not. There's people in there. He busts through a window. He jumps out. He lands on his shoulder. Fatma trying to get him into the car, but can't. And then she goes back into the house. She has a plan. She takes a talisman. She closed two of the doors. There's like the front door. There's like this little hall. And then there's like another door that goes into the living room. So she closed both those doors, put the talismans there, and they leave him alone. And he's all like, how did you know that will work? She's all like, I didn't. I think she did. But anyway, so the next day and everything, that's when she makes him forgive his father, and then he proposes to her and everything, and she says yes because they're like madly in love with everybody. But here's the thing. Now let's get into Victor and Julie. Before the monster attack, she goes to him after the whole thing happened between her and Fatma, when Fatma didn't want to kiss her. She tells Victor, can I just hang out with you? I just want to be away from everybody. And he's all like, get out of my room. He don't want nobody in his room. But she convinces him that she's going to stay. She sees all his drawings and everything. So when all the craziness is happening, he's all like, it's happening. We have to flee and everything. So he's in the attic. So they climb down the rope and they're running to safety. And she's like, we need to go in the woods. She's all like, what? Are you crazy? That's where those monster things live at. He's all like, no, the trees will protect us and everything. I don't know what the deal with the trees are. This is that freaky twist and turn crap that this show does. That's so confusing and everything. And so they run out there. And he goes to that tree with a giant hole in it. He's all like, go inside there. I'll follow you soon and everything. She's like, what? And so he pushes her in the tree. And then she ends up in like the church and everything. She doesn't know how she got there. So then the next day she tells her parents and stuff. But Victor is nowhere to be found after this. He shows up 3 episodes later in the 10th episode. I'll get into that a little bit later. And so like now her family has reconciled. Everybody's kumbaya with everybody. So now she doesn't even hang out with Fatima anymore. So Boyd, he goes and he gets Sarah. She's freaked out. He's all like, man, you're gonna take a little trip. She doesn't know. And so she's all like, where's Father Khatri and everything? He's all like, he's dead. See, what happened is this. Remember when I told you the colony people went out to the township people for shelter and stuff? Well, the father was trying to get people in the house, and then he turned around and one of the monsters called his name out and sliced his throat open with their hands. He died in Boyd's arm, and he told him, pray with me and everything before I die. And so he does. So then the sheriff tells Sarah, the father had a hunch that you have a way to get out of here. He's all like, you better prove that man right, because if you don't, you get a bullet between the eyes and everything. And he meant it too. So he handcuffs her, and they go on their little field trip thing to try to find a way out. She keeps telling him, like, cuff me and everything. He's like, no, because I don't trust you. So she tells him everything she told the father. And so then she has one of her seizures and stuff. His little tent trick worked with the talisman. But then all of a sudden she has another voice in her head from those people. And he says, this voice is different. It's a woman's voice who she's never heard of before. And she tells him that this woman said we made a mistake coming out in the woods. She said that we're safer with the monster people than we are out here in the woods and everything. Okay, so being in town with the monster people is safer than being out in the woods. So what the world's gonna go on with these woods? You know what I'm saying? He don't believe her. And so she's all like, look, man, we have to go back. Now, at this point in time, the people had got the tower up. I'll get into that later. So anyway, it's a giant storm coming in, a huge one, right? And all of a sudden, things start shaking the tent. They're terrified. And then they don't know what's shaking it, but it's shaking it hard. Then we see the silhouette of it. It's branches. The trees are shaking the tent on the ground. What the world is going on? And so they're tossing and turning, flipping around. And then when everything stops, he looks for the talisman. He finds it and puts it back up. The next morning when they leave the tent, there are spider webs galore all around that of like the trees and the branches. But before all that happened, when everything was tossing around, there was a giant light that shined on the tent, and you hear a foghorn. So anyway, when they get out and they see the spider webs everywhere, they start walking. And she's like, look, man, we need to go back. That voice told me to go back. She thinks that voice could be his wife. He doesn't want to hear none of it. Until all of a sudden, he sees his wife wrapped up in spider webs. It's a hallucination. She grabs his arms. Spiders are coming everywhere, and they attack him. They start biting him. Sarah helps get the spiders off. So then she's all like, you know what? We need to continue just like you said. We can't go back now because they don't know where they're at. And so he's all like, look, there's something out there. There was a light and there was a foghorn. We have to keep going. But he starts to get weak during their travels when they're trying to go up the hill. The spider bites are killing him inside. They're hurting so much. Like he's in agony and pain. And so she helps him get up to the hill, and they see a giant tower with a fog light and everything. It's like one of those beach tower type things, those old fashioned kind. And so, like, they have no idea where they're at. I have no idea what's going on. This is going to get into that weird, freaky Lost 100 crap. And if they keep going in this route, it's going to ruin the show and everything. And so, like, now we get to that at the Colony House. Oh, there's something I forgot to mention when it comes to that Boyd and Sarah. They find a bunch of bottles hanging from a tree. And so he takes one down, and it's like paper inside each and every one of them. It's a year, but this year says like 1876 or something like that. So he doesn't understand what's that from. This could be the people, the monster people. I mean, remember I said they are dressed in like old-fashioned clothes and stuff. We don't know how far this town has been. Now, one interesting thing about this town is that there is a map. And in this map, every person that came into this town, they get like a tag, and they show what town they came from, or not what town, but what city or state they came from. Everybody went in different directions in the United States, but somehow they ended up on that same road, and they ended up in that town. And they don't even know what city or state this town is in. So that's weird and freaky. Donna is a little upset because one dude took his life after they were saved from the 7th episode. She starts getting abrasive and mean and rude, and she thinks that they're giving their hopes up and talking about this town isn't that bad, just accept it, this and that. Jim doesn't want to do that. Jade doesn't want to do that. So everybody builds the tower. They put it on the roof of the Colony House. They test it out, but then now there's a giant storm. So once they got the tower up, Tabitha's all like, all right, I'll go to plan B, which is keep digging the hole looking for that wire. As the storm is going, this and that, they make contact with somebody. And it's a man. And Jim's like, oh man, thank God we like got in touch with you and everything. And so Jim's all like, like, where are you, man? And the man's all like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, back up, Jim. And Jim's all like, how do you know my name? He's all like, Jim Matthews, right? Yeah. Probably not a good idea your wife is digging up that hole and everything. Jim is terrified. He tells Donna, protect his kids, and he just takes off chasing back towards his house within town. And he's running as fast as he can through like the rain and everything. Julie and Ethan don't know what's going on, but who is this voice on the other side of the radio, and how do they know Jim's name, and how do they know the wife is digging that hole? Well, the wife is just digging her hole, and all of a sudden something strange happens. The ground breaks up underneath her, and she falls into like a tunnel. In this tunnel, there's a light coming towards her. It's Victor. He tells her, we have to hurry up and everything and get to safety. And she's all like, why? He's all like, because this is where they live. He's talking about the monster people. This is where they go to during the day. They go underground and stuff. And he's all like, they draw on the walls too. And then she looks around, there's all these hieroglyphics type drawings and everything similar to what he does. So they go into like a tunnel, and we don't see them no more. Then all of a sudden, Jim goes into the house. His house is trashed. It's like a giant hole, and like parts of the floor and everything. And it ends. So yes, this is a freaky show. It's strange, it's bizarre. However, I feel like they're losing focus on the narrative. They're giving us too much at a short period in time. And if it doesn't pay off in the second season and more, then it's going to be all for nothing. They're making mistakes similar to what other shows have made in the past. Shows like Lost, shows like The 100. When The 100 started going more into this weird freaky deaky stuff, that's when the show got lame and people tuned out and it got canceled. And I don't know about Lost, because like I said, I never watched Lost. I think they should have did everything in small doses. The first season should have just been people living in town, they can't escape, and the monster people, and them trying to escape the monster people. The monster people should have showed up in every episode. Like, why give us monster people if you're not going to show them and have them be freaky and stuff like that, Then the second season could have dealt more into like the electricity and stuff, and like, you know, the radio and everything. Then the third season could have went into like the whole Sarah and Boyd like angle and everything. So there are missed opportunities here and there. And also they're killing off people that could be interesting. They're keeping certain people alive, like the bartender who makes potato vodka. Ugh. Like, he's still on the show, but why? And like, cause no, they got rid of like the pastor, they got rid of Trudy, and they got rid of Nathan. They could have been really interesting characters for the show. This show is good, it's not perfect. It needs to be longer. It needs to incorporate more story elements into the people's lives and stuff. It needs more character development from people that are interesting. But then when they give us character development, say with like the pastor, they take him away from the show. Like, why would they do that and stuff, you know? And so it's such a missed opportunity, and they're keeping some characters that are alive that are boring and ones that are interesting dead. So if they don't be careful, they could screw up their own show by trying too hard, too fast to be like shock and awe value, you know? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.